President Dixon. As President-elect, I guess I'm qualified to tell you about things about Rotary International. So good afternoon. So we're going to keep the momentum going with the Paul Harris Fellow, which is an award of the Rotary International Foundation. And we're going to tell a little bit about what that foundation is, what we're all a part of, and the bigger picture and what it all means. And so I'd like to start with a video created by Rotary International about the foundation.
Alone, we can only do so much. But together, progress is boundless. Together, we provide training and resources to people and communities, growing local economies, supporting education, and promoting peace. Together, we help those who need us the most, preventing diseases, providing clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, and supporting mothers and their children. Together, we make a difference. And it is all thanks to you. As Rotary members, we challenge ourselves to do better, only looking back to see how far we have come. Last year, more than $430 million was contributed to the Rotary Foundation. Because of you, over 1,190 global grants, 470 district grants, and 225 disaster response grants were funded. And over $15 million was donated to support refugees from Ukraine. Thank you for supporting the Rotary Foundation and all you do on behalf of others. Because of you, together, we can do even more good.
There's a lot that we do internationally, and sometimes we have our hands in it as a local club, but sometimes we don't. So it's always important to bring it to the forefront and talk about the bigger picture and why we're here for Rotary. So if you would like to start the presentation, please, sir. We'll go into a little bit more about what the Rotary International Foundation is and how our club is a part of it and how you personally can be a part of it as well.
Turn the slide on the network.
Got it.
No, I can't hear.
So I'm going to start with the mission of Rotary. The Rotary International Foundation. The mission is to enable Rotarians to advance the world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. So how they get that done is through many channels, but I really want to focus on the annual fund of the International Foundation today. The annual fund is essentially one of the main fundraisers of the foundation. And sidebar, there are a couple of members here who are more well-versed in this than I am. So please feel free to interrupt and speak up, and we can ask questions at the end. So with the annual fund, that's how our gifts get to play at work. So the Rotary Foundation transforms your gifts, such as the Paul Harris Fellow contributions, into service projects that change lives close to home and around the world. The annual fund is the main funding source for the foundation programs, and your gift empowers Rotarians to carry out the substantial service projects in our community and around the world. So if you're unfamiliar, Rotary International has 7 areas of focus now, with the new one adding just recently, last year. So our areas are promoting peace and conflict prevention, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, community economic development, and the new one being environment. So out of those, if there's anything that speaks to you personally, this is a great way to get connected in that specific area of focus, or you can donate more generally and cover all the areas of focus with the annual fund. So you might be interested in the funding process. So Rotarians from all over the world are contributing to this fund. So what happens next? So donations to the annual fund are made. Then those donations are invested for 3 years. They grow, they get evaluated, and then they get to the foundation operations are shared to 2 columns. So the first column is the World Fund. Those are those global grants and programs internationally. And then the second column is the district designated funds. So those are the funds that come back to clubs like ours after those 3 years of waiting. So when we apply for district grants, the money that the district is getting is partially from this district designated fund. So we are getting that money back from Rotary International after we give it to the International Foundation. So our club does get support from the annual fund. So that's just kind of how it splits off into those 2 columns. So one of the projects that we want to talk about with the International Foundation that we are very much aware of is the Ending Polio. That is one of Rotary's most well-known projects in those 7 areas of focus. And World Polio Day is coming up. It is October 24th. So we may do some more announcements leading up to that day. In the past, Mark Roberts has been up here to talk about it, and we did a donation campaign just to end polio. But we have our own campaign where we will be lighting up the Murray Baker Bridge in yellow and red for End Polio Now. We've done that 2 years in a row, so this will be our 3rd year, kind of giving some local attention to a global issue. And I don't know if you're aware, but we are this close. So we are 99.9% eradicated for polio. There's just a few cases, and I may be misspeaking here, but the last time there weren't any cases this year so far yet. But there's still that issue of getting into those countries that are harder to get into. But we've got volunteers on the ground who are out there giving doses of the polio vaccine as we speak. That's probably one of the most dangerous projects that we have for Rotary, because they are going into parts of the country that are those 3rd world countries where they don't have internet to know what's going on, to believe that this is actually something that will help their children. And there's a lot of resistance in some of those parts of the country. So it's very important that we have the support to that program for the Rotary International Foundation. So by the numbers, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2022 annual report that just came out. You heard some of those numbers in that video, but what does it mean? We give the money, we know it goes to the programs, but what are some of those outcomes? So this is for 2022, and the Rotary Foundation raised the 434 million. It actually exceeded its annual fundraising goal that was 410 million. So it's really exciting that they're marketing, they're getting the word out, and they're actually exceeding some goals. So we're breaking some barriers and some boundaries here. So the 50 million of fundraising goal for ending polio, it was reached, and they actually earned 100 million with the match from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So often we'll talk about matching programs. Sometimes they'll do a 1-for-1, sometimes it's a 2-for-1. So when you give $10, your $10 just turned into 20 or 30. So be on the lookout for those opportunities when they do the match, because then your donation can go even farther. This year, donors contributed more than $15 million to the Ukraine disaster relief. We saw that locally when we helped provide some supplies for the ambulance that went over. So we are directly connected to some of these programs with our local projects. So that's really awesome. And then a record 1.2 million was raised on Giving Tuesday. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Giving Tuesday is kind of in that weird cycle of Black Friday and Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday. So Giving Tuesday is kind of like you spent all your money on yourself and your friends and your family for Christmas. Let's go ahead and give back a little bit. So Giving Tuesday is a kind of a crowdfunding campaign, and Rotary International had one last year and had a record-breaking year. So if you're looking for something to do on Giving Tuesday and you don't have an organization that you want to share about that day, consider sharing about the Rotary International Foundation. And they have all the marketing that you can do that with. So they make it really easy. So we spent 330 million on other projects, including 100 million was spent for the Polio Plus. There's global grants that totaled 73 million were awarded. And some of those are like providing micro grants to women-owned businesses and companies to get them more sustainable. So there's a lot of different things within those 7 areas of focus that this the 73 million went towards. 27 million were in district grants were awarded. Again, those are those district grants that eventually can come back to us. And then 8 million was spent in disaster grants. We also celebrated a formal partnership with Shelterbox. We've had some presentations about that, but that really comes in handy during the disaster reliefs. And it's our 10-year anniversary of supporting that program. So that's really exciting. So one campaign the foundation has is called Every Rotarian Every Year. And the idea is that every Rotary member donates at least $25 to the annual fund. And if every single Rotarian spent $25, just imagine how much money that would be. And in 2019 to 2020, 123 million of that was from the annual fund, and it was 1,350 global grants were awarded. But that was only about 30% of Rotarians who supported the annual fund at any level. And so that's not even 50% of Rotarians contributing to our own international foundation. So just imagine if every Rotarian gave that $25 or more, what we could be doing even more so with these projects. One awesome thing about Rotary, it is something that is monitored and looked at globally. And for the 14th consecutive year in a row, they have been giving the 4-star award as a top tier charity by Charity Navigator. So this is an independent third-party company that evaluates and looks at everything. Where is the money spent? Is it on overhead? Is it on staff members? Things like that. They evaluate all of that, and that's how they get ranked to the 4 stars. So know that when you are donating to the Rotary International Foundation, it is something that is vetted, and they are doing the most good with the money that they receive. Now, what do you get for your donation? So we kind of went through some of these today. So these are some of the donor recognition levels that the Rotary International Foundation has set up for donors. So sustaining members is anybody that donates $100 or more to the annual fund. A Paul Harris Fellow, which we saw several awarded today, is anybody who donates $1,000, period. That's a cumulative. As long as you get $1,000 donated, you get your Paul Harris Fellow Award. There's the Paul Harris Society member, which Clay is now a member of. I know several other members are parts of this society as well. That is someone who donates that $1,000 every year annually without question. They're automatically going to get another Paul Harris every time. Then you have your major donor. That's anybody that gives $10,000 or more accumulatively. A benefactor, that's someone who gives $10,000 or more to the endowment fund. The Bequest Society is someone who gives $10,000 from their estate. And then the Arch Clump Society is anybody who has given $250,000 plus over their lifetime. So there's lots of different ways that you can get recognized. Not that that's why we donate, but they do have a great setup to recognize donors and the support that you've given. I don't have that to give you, Matt. I just don't have 250,000 lying around, but if I did, I probably still wouldn't give it to you. So not only do they recognize the individual donors, but did you know that our club actually gets recognized for your donations to the Rotary International Foundation? These are just some of the awards that our club can earn when you are donating internationally to our the mothership. So if every single person gets a Paul Harris Society, for example, we would get a flag for that. So there's lots of recognitions that we can receive above and beyond just your own personal support, which is pretty cool. Because Rotary isn't just about one person, right? We're all in this together. One of the cool things that they do that we've recently been talking about that you may have picked up on while Jason was giving awards is there's something called recognition points. And we really want to spend some time on this because it's actually a really cool thing that I think we could be taking more advantage of. So after an individual has accumulated their $1,000 Paul Harris Fellow, they are eligible to start accumulating points. 1 point equals $1. And so once you contribute it to the annual fund, the Polio Plus Fund, or an approved matching grant program, you will keep racking up those points. So points can be transferred to other people to help them qualify as a Paul Harris Fellow. So as we stated, Robin is a donor, but someone gifted their points to her on her behalf, which made her a Paul Harris Fellow. So as long as you're gifting at least 100 points, AKA $100, you can transfer any of those. So you can transfer it all to one person, you can divvy it up amongst other people. So that's how that other circle got their Paul Harris Fellows in 2 years versus 4 years, because they were able to utilize those points with each other and make their circle stronger. So this is a really cool tool to get someone to that next level, or push them, or to in-kind someone for their recognition of the support and the work they do. So there is a way to check your points. It's on your account, but you can talk to Joanna and she can help walk you through that. Most of this information you can just find on the Rotary International website as well, but there's ways to walk you through and to show what points you have and how you can be gifting those. From our understanding, you can't gift them to yourself. So please give them out to your fellow Rotarians and just, you know, get us to that every member being a Paul Harris Fellow recognition. That would be pretty cool. So there's many, many, many different ways to give. Let me pull myself back up here. So you can automate your giving through Rotary Direct. If you have any questions, that's something that Matt Mahala does. He's talked about it several times and is pretty passionate about it. It's a set it and forget it. You charge your credit card every time and you just move on until the bill comes. But you just kind of set it and forget it.
You don't have to pay that.
It's just pretend. So it's a great way to just give automatically. Don't have to worry about it. It just comes out every time. I don't know the limit on that, but usually it's like $25 or something like that to be able to charge your credit card every time. And then depending on how savvy you are, you might be earning your credit card points on top of your donation. So it's a win-win. You can give a check to your club foundation chair. If anybody would like to serve on the International Foundation Committee, we would be happy to take any of those members wanting to volunteer for that. Or you can give it straight to Joanna and she can fix and make sure you get everything you need. Like we said, we've got forms around as well. You can mail your check directly to the foundation, or you can grow your gift with a corporate gift. If you're like a Caterpillar employee, for example, CAT has a donation match, so you can choose Rotary International as your charity of choice. And then you can donate online on rotary.org/donate, or you can scan this little QR code right here. So just pick up your phones, take a picture, and it'll scan right to the foundation page where you can pick your categories. You can pick the annual fund, you can pick polio, you can pick disaster relief, so you can donate right there from your phone. And with that, we appreciate you doing good in the world. We're a very unique club that we actually have our own Rotary North Foundation. But that sometimes can make it very confusing. What money goes where, what awards are for what. So the Rotary International Foundation is managed by Rotary International. That's the RI Foundation when we talk about it. When we talk about the Rotary North Foundation, that is our personal foundation that we have created ourselves and has nothing really to do with the International Foundation or the awards that we just talked about. So it can be very confusing when you're looking to donate. So several members donate to both. But if you ever have any questions of where your money goes and why, we've got plenty of members who are well-versed in all of those avenues and how they get from one place to another. And we're absolutely happy to have a conversation about it. So thank you for your support of Rotary, the international projects, and just being amazing human beings.